Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Yo, and hello, folks and fam. This is Ange, the host of MS and Millennial Shit. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that we've all had a great week, that we're getting into the throes of spring, the feeling of just rejuvenation of life, being better, blooming, babies everywhere, baby kitties, or kittens, I guess they would be called. And, everything that comes with spring and just the rebirthing of everything. And it's really great feeling because, for me at least, because the sun's coming out more, it's really shining today. The sky is nice and clear and blue, and it makes me feel more positive, more productive, more proactive, and I feel like I'm really implementing my days, or getting to implementing my days with that more so now that we're possibly out of the throes of winter. It has been quite rainy, and the gloom of the clouds and the gray skies have been, hanging around for the past few days, but spring is definitely putting up its fight to stay here, in the sense of just, bringing these bright, sunny days, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that you're here listening to this dose that I am putting out for y'all today, and out for myself, because, this whole process really is so self-preservating and so sort of like an adrenaline rush in the best of ways. And yeah, I'm just happy for this whole experience. Thank you to MS&Me Radio and everybody that's part of it, and just the entire MS community that's, really taking a positive approach to this condition, which I feel like, for me, I'm a very positive person generally, but when it's come to dealing with MS, it hasn't been the most positive of outlooks and outcomes and situations. The situation hasn't been the most positive for me, but I haven't let it obstruct, my sense of positivity throughout it all. Of course, life is happening, and that's challenging, but I'm definitely vibing a lot right now with the energy changes and the seasonal change and everything, and just everything that's happening around me seems to be really coming together in a way that's fueling me to have energy and fueling me to see the positive outlook on life generally. So I'm really appreciating all the positive people who I keep bumping into, running into, talking to. I've been really doing something new lately where I'm just reaching out to people that I haven't spoken to in a long time. And some people aren't responding, but that's okay. I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable or forced. But then there are some people who are responding, and it makes me feel good to know that, those relationships, even though they're not in constant action, they're still alive. And it's really nice because, for a long part of my life, I felt like, an outsider looking in. And now that I am taking more of a positive approach, I am looking outside, but I'm also putting myself out there at the same time, which is very, very angsty for me, but it's working out, and it's something that I feel like I'll benefit from in the long run. Of course, exercising like discernment and boundaries and all that important important details of a relationship with anyone, including yourself. All those things come into play, of course, constantly and should be in play constantly. But for this dose, I wanted to go ahead, I sort of alluded to it, and just work with the framework of the fact of when things stop working, which with MS is something that happens often, and things may not stop working permanently. They may come back to us, but, for example, me personally, in June, July 2014, I lost eyesight in my left eye. That lasted about 2 weeks. And I was in the hospital being pumped full of Solumedrol, pumped full of steroids, and then I went home, still not fully back in my vision, but a few days later my vision did return, thank goodness. But yeah, I forgot why I was telling that story right now. But I want to go back to the topic of what I'm talking about or alluding to or sort of working with today, and that's just, when things stop working. So I think that, with MS, that's something that we not only have to think about, but it can be a factor of our everyday life. And so I like to, instead of focusing on how things are not working or that things are not working all the time, I like to just go ahead and focus on the things that are and be grateful for those first and show my gratitude toward those things that are working in my favor all the time, and just be very, very grateful and have open arms and open heart to receiving guidance to make things work and knowing how to implement them when they do work and in the best of ways. And that could be, a new MS DMT or something along those lines, or just a lifestyle change. I was listening to an earlier show today on MS&Me radio, and they were talking about diet, and that is so important, and that's such a big factor for me right now. I'm actually super excited because tomorrow I have a plan to go grocery shopping with my partner and make some different choices and try to change some things up. Not that the things were not working, but there are some things that definitely need to be altered and adapted for our lifestyle, if we want to have, an optimum lifestyle, which is something that I'm really curtailing because that is something that's so, I think is so pivotal for just the persistent positivity flow in my life. And so that's something that I'm actively working on. Yesterday, my partner and I actually went out on a walk. And this is something that we've committed to, that we've began. This is our second walk, actually, a second or third walk. And we haven't had a consistent plan, and that's not working for us. We have been reserving too much time to wasting it, when we are together, or to not doing things that are pushing us and pushing our boundaries. Not pushing our boundaries per se, but pushing our limits. And I feel like we lead these limited lives where we get stuck to something, or we find a hobby and we, get stuck in it. And because of that, that sort of created a fear in me, because I don't like to be sort of pigeonholed and just held to one thing. I like to sort of be worldly in what I submit myself to. And so I'm always, looking at new things and finding new ways to better myself. And that means that I have to find out, a lot of the time what is not working for me and what is needing to be adapted, such as our diet. And I just heard about Awesome New Diet, which I'm excited to look into. There's actually an entire Facebook page for it. it's the swank diet and lifestyle, and I feel like what I read about it, it will basically be what I do already. I don't eat red meat. I sometimes eat a burger from Steak and Shake, but I try not to do that, and that's like really really bad to me. Like, I need to practice more willpower first of all, but definitely I feel like I've already read some of the tags about it and some of the details and some of the comments, and I think cutting red meat out is a big part of it, and dairy, I believe, which I don't know how I'll be able to do with dairy or if I'll be able to do, but going. But what I am thinking that will need to happen in the in indefinitely, when it comes to that situation, is that there just needs to be a balance established. And that's sort of how it is for life in general. And I feel like with MS, like a lot of MS of what I've seen in my mother and just in myself is, losing balance. And unfortunately, that's something that if we don't fight to regain it, it's just going to get harder to come back. It's like a muscle. That MS is like, oh my gosh, I need you. I need your energy. And it feeds on it sometimes. But I just read an article recently about a woman who, don't know if it was a woman, but the author was speaking about getting comfortable with the mobility device. And it really resonated with me because I have a cane that I am now taking with me everywhere. And I remember when I talked to Miss Lindsay Joy Holcomb, she was talking about using her cane and how it's so important for us and our well-being, but it's hard mentally to be like, oh yeah, I need that, or, to remember getting it, because it's really not a part of us. As MS is, and it's not always there. It's something that you have to intentionally do. And I think that's really, really putting things in your favor to make them work for you. That's the end game. Like I said, manipulating your scenario and your situation so that it works, so that you can make sure that you're getting the most out of trying to ensure that your optimum health is met. But yeah, I definitely resonated with that article. Even though the woman, I believe she said she started using her walking device when she was like 50, and I'm not even 30 yet, and I'm using a walking device, and it's something that I would have not imagined if I had the time to imagine. But I've had a mess for as long as I have, and it's sort of been something that I just never sort of etched into the equation until a few years ago, but not really until maybe last year or the last few years. 2016, I would say, when I moved from my hometown and I had to decide, am I going to take this thing or not? Am I going to take my cane that's been given to me with me, or am I going to leave it behind because, it's extra baggage? And at the time, I did leave it behind. I did see it as extra baggage, and I did not take it with me, which I did regret. But this sort of blessing and curse situation happened in September where I broke my ankle and I received another cane. And that cane has really been getting me through the days, and it's really been helping, especially when it was snowing more and it was rainy and the terrain was a little questionable. The stability of the cane, sort of like as a third leg and just an extra balancing tool, was fantastic to utilize. And now I feel more confident just those few times using it when I went out to appointments or things like that, to be able to train my body during this time where I can go out more because I feel more secure when it's warmer. I can go out more and utilize the fullness of the range of motion I have in my legs, hands, and with my mobility device, with my cane. I have a wheelchair that I used when my ankle broke, but I haven't used it since probably January. And, well, actually, it was probably November, because, yeah, a lot of things happened in November, but, yeah, I haven't really used my wheelchair as a mobility device. Right now it has like a bunch of clothes on it, and it's just chilling in the corner of my room. But I know that that's also something that someday I'll have to potentially utilize on a more constant basis. And that's sort of nerve-wracking in my mind. Like, I remember my mom using a motorized wheelchair and things like that, and, you know, getting it into the car and things like that, and that's kind of a lot. But right now I'm on a cane and I'm doing my best with it, and it's really helping me. And I'm so happy, because not using a cane was not working. It was not working out. And so I'm so really appreciative that I have this cane. Not that I necessarily broke my ankle, but I'm very appreciative that I have this extra mobility device to assist me and get me to where I need to be in a safe way, in a safer manner, I guess. Yeah, so that is that. For me, winter just isn't my season. Even though my birthday is like sort of fall winter, it's not my season. I don't do cold. I don't. I know a lot of patients with MS, cold is preferred. That has not been the case for me. I think cold has actually aggravated my symptoms a little bit. And I know that extreme heat has, but I haven't dealt with extreme heat for quite some time, and humidity is a drag. So I'm just learning how to navigate through seasonal as well, because I know winter I want to just, be indoors all day and not go outside at all unless it's like 911 or I have an appointment. And I realize that I can be doing so much during the winter and doing so much more, but not still like having my boundaries in place and things like that. And I think that I do hold myself back during the winter because of fear of falling and things like that. But I'm really happy that spring is here and that the sun is showing out and the sky is shining. The sky is shining. The sun is shining. The sky is, this beautiful baby blue color. I'm grateful for that. And I say that with a heavy heart. There's been a lot of things happening this past week that have really been affecting me emotionally and mentally. So it's been a struggle of a week in that manner. But, I feel like being in tune with my physicality has also helped with that. And not throwing in the towel for using my body and making the most of what I can has really, I feel like, echoed into other facets of my life. Like yesterday when I came back, I even told my partner, I feel like a whole section of my brain that had been, blocked off after we went walking was reopened, and I was able to really have some integral thoughts and thinking time to myself. So that was really nice. And I look forward to that continuing to happen, because it really felt great. It felt so good. And I think that comfort is a big part of feeling good in general, but especially with MS. And I think also in the show that I was talking about before, they were talking about, laying down is a part of the swank diet and lifestyle. Laying down, making intentional choices to lay down and rest during the day is a great benefit for MS, because you're not subjected to stressful situations and all that stuff. So to know that I've been doing that, just as my life, and that, that's been considered lazy by other people, that's been considered all this stuff, and it's really just my body, like, rejuvenating itself at whenever it can. That is kind of refreshing to hear, and I don't want to, like, backpack on that, per se, only. I do want to push myself. I want to keep pushing myself, because, why not? And, there's no harm, no foul if, there's boundaries, I feel like. If there's boundaries in place, and I can, and I do understand my situation enough, I feel, to be able to say, oh, no, that's too much for me to do, and, give myself sort of the peace of mind of giving myself a break. Yesterday, after my partner and I walked, we had to walk up some stairs, and I had been tired at that point, and I was like, I just need a rest. Let me just sit at the bottom of the stairs before we take this trip up the stairs. And I was really thankful and happy that my partner was like, we're going to continue. We're going to keep going, because it wasn't like a drastic situation where it was like, oh, I'm going to faint or anything. I was just super tired. And I feel like a part of that tiredness, like, there are times where you should stop and pause and rejuvenate and get back into things. But then there's other times where it's really like you're not living up to your full potential. And this is me talking to myself here. You're not living up to your full, range of motion and potential of motion because, because you're throwing in the towel, essentially. But I'm grateful. Like, I wouldn't have done it at all, any of it, if my partner wasn't there, probably. And I'm really grateful that he was, and that he did, support me and, push me. And I think that's a big part of having a support system, is having someone who is there for you, or having people who are there for you, having systems that are there for you, having classes for yourself where you are being challenged constantly, but where your understanding is also broadened, where your understanding is also clarified. It's a multifunctional situation. and I feel like that's sort of, that's what MS is. It's because it's just not singular. It's multiple, which is, of course, it's multiple sclerosis. But anyway, I'm jabbering and clamoring on. So I have been trying to set time aside so that my partner and I could put out a show. I think it would be nice to sort of have him on and just maybe talk about, how he feels when we go walking and things like that. So that's a great part of us walking too, is that I am going to get to have his feedback, and I'd like to share it with y'all, as him being my support system and my significant other and things like that. But that is neither here nor there, because I don't know if that's going to happen. I doubt it. I wish it would happen, but it's okay. My feelings are not hurt. I'm okay. They're not hurt. And I am still going to keep coming and delivering doses anyway. So if he wants to join, he can join. But if he doesn't, it's cool. It's going to happen anyway. So, yeah. Well, we're coming down to the wire. I'm looking at the time of the broadcast, and there's about 2.5 minutes left to speak. So each dose is timed. It's about 27 minutes, and it's my goal to cut off at 27, and then come back and give you some more next week, every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is where we're going to be. This is where I'm going to be, at least. If you want to join in, I would love for you to join in. And I appreciate you joining in. You're wonderful. You're brilliant. You're extraordinary. And thank you so much for listening. Like, I don't know. I feel so I feel so much gratitude in doing this show, and I know that it can be kind of troubling, like, to go through this process and have all these things in your mind storing up, and, especially if I feel like I can only speak from, like, a millennial point of view because I'm a 90s baby, and that's why I can't speak on, older generations or older folks who have MS. But as, a teen that went through it, as a young adult that's going through it, as a adult almost that's going through it, I don't even know, like, the cutoffs and things, but I think 30 is, like, pretty much adult. And I think that I'm pretty much adult, but I'm not 30 yet. So, yeah, I'm really happy to bring this show every week, as many as I can. I'm sorry I've missed a few, but I'm not sorry because it's gone back and done old shows, and I hope that you've appreciated those too. And I hope that you all have a great, fantastic, super fun, rejuvenating week, that your spring is treating you well, and that y'all join me here next week on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast in like 15 minutes. Don't forget to follow MS Squared on Facebook. And if you want to follow on Instagram, follow m.s_squared. And maybe I'm going to put together a Snapchat soon. I don't know, though. But in the meantime, I'll keep you posted on Facebook. And I'll share some posts and do everything that I can to stay active. I'm not very active on there. I apologize. I'm drained a lot of the time. You know how it is, girl. All right. Well, that is the end of the broadcast. Thank you so much. Take care. MS Squared out.